on the moon. Only thing that's as more terrifying on the moon is the pit of divas that just continually grows in the crater to the left of point A.
You know, I realize this composition that the Grizzlies are going to be walking out with the quad tank. It's pretty fitting. You know, Zarya's got that emote where she wrestles a bear. Speaking of Zarya wrestling a bear, it's going to be Spirits on the Zarya as they go for that quad tank setup on their first push.
And no surprise here is that we will be seeing Dalton on the Widowmaker, but I don't think the Widow is the ideal pick here unless you get Blam. If you get Blam, all is forgiven. There is one key Achilles heel to any Slamdulance combination, and it's getting the Moira. But the problem is that now Dalton's gonna have to awkwardly move around here. He's gonna land some damage into the tanks, but it's not ideal. And the Grizzlies force Toronto to start moving in, but they have way more punching power in this situation. But Zapri going the fall. Dalton gets the pick off. He's still working on the tanks from afar and came real close to getting Brian. And here's the tire.
I mean, there's punching power and then there's explosive power. It's Nero coming in with a rip tire, 2 to get them off the point. They got the straggling kills there, even getting the stagger onto Graceful. So Grizzlies, it looks like they will be sticking with this quad tank, and it looks like they want to go for that one full rotation where they get everyone's ultimates up. Spirit was only able to get about 40% onto that Graviton Surge.
The problem when you run these quad tank compositions is that their strongest point is at the very beginning, and you usually want to have a strong point. Oh, Spirit blown up. Spirit has not felt comfortable on Zarya at all. That is one key part here. And if you're Grizzlies, when do you swap?
You got to do it soon. It's coming down to the halfway mark, and you don't even have a Graviton Surge at a minute and a half. It's not even halfway there. That is not a great sign whatsoever for the Grizzlies. But they are coming up on a self-destruct. They've almost got the whole hog. There's going to be some firepower behind this next push.
The issue that they're going to be running into is that you look at Nero, right? He's about to have another tire up. They have both support ultimates at the ready. A quad tank composition runs into huge issues if you're not able to leverage the early Coalescence advantage in the beginning. Because now look, Nero has a tire. If it gets even one person or just damages enough to clean up his air, that's going to be it. And oh, the tire falls. Spirit microwaving it down, exploding that rubber. And you see Dalton here in the back looking for pickoffs. Doesn't have the best angle. The Grizzlies, though, don't feel confident in like being as aggressive as they could. But now Toronto, they're going to come in and challenge this directly.
Yeah, Grizzlies were able to secure 2 ticks there, but the whole hog does nothing for Zapri as Pag even falls with that Earth Shatter now. Toronto just doing a great job of being patient, giving away some ticks to get the fight win now. And 1:30 left, Grizzlies have to back away. Now they will have their Earth Shatter along with the Graviton Surge, but they need more follow-up. Zapri is swapping off onto the Widowmaker.
The thing that's really weird to me here is that you're running a quad tank composition. You can use the walls more to not give Dalton the shots he's getting, but Dalton, just staying way far back, is still getting sight lines that arguably the Grizzlies could be preventing here. It's great play by Dalton, but I just think the Grizzlies had a rough time after that first attack where now they've just been trying to recover. Here comes a tire from Nero, and Zapri shoots it out of the sky. The Widowmaker, quite good at dealing with tires.
Yeah, Zapri just wanted to make sure now, swapping off onto this Widowmaker, he's going to stay a threat out here. Graviton Surge comes out, connected onto 3 members. There it is, the bigger bang combo. Graceful with the self-destruct follow-up. That's going to allow the Grizzlies to punch in.
And Spirit could be heard taking a huge sigh of relief, especially after his Graviton last week on Hollywood. It's slow, but he gets in the final minute. It sets up his team, and now the Grizzlies, absolutely no chill whatsoever. They want to bring this right to the next point. They don't have too much to support it, but they do have an Earth Shatter. Pog gets knocked way out of sorts. Coalescence is going to support him. Where is the hammer? He's waiting, holding, just thinking, when do I drop this? Finally drops it, knocks down both tanks. That might be enough.
That might be enough. They picked off 2. Nero, once again, ineffective with that rip tire now. 1 tick nearly going over for the Grizzlies. They're going to get the DMAC once again onto Guardian as the hammer swings heavy down onto him. And so 1 tick secured before Dalton is able to get onto the point once again.
Spirit's been playing really well in this point. He has a Graviton up already. Draw Graviton when no one is. And all right, well, I have just cursed him. But he did build the Graviton up really fast. The Grizzlies still in a decent spot in this situation. And they get the last few kills. It's Toronto on the verge here. They can't really get back in. They're desperately trying to move in, but one by one they fall. The Grizzlies just setting up their den here on the point. And now 91%. It's coming down to the wire. Toronto, not really sure if they're gonna be able to get back in, but you do have an emergency Doomfist in the field.
Emergency Doomfist cleared off. Cruz is gone. Grizzlies, even though they stumbled on point A, once they were able to secure themselves onto point B, they were just not moved at all. The defensive cooldowns coming out from the D.Va along with the Zarya just made it way too difficult to punch any damage on through, especially once Nero's tire got clipped.
Well, credit where credit's due too, right? Where Spirit started out the attack not so great, got picked off early a few times, was really slow to build up the first Graviton, and then he actually built up a Graviton between first and second very, very quickly. So he had high energy, he was doing a good job at focusing down tanks and anyone that would get close to him, and he got a second Graviton up. Sure, it didn't actually amount to too much, but the point is that if you build a Graviton that quickly, you're laying in the damage. Yep,
indeed. And so now it's going to be Toronto Esports on the offense. For the defense coming out from the Grizzlies, they are going to run a very similar composition. It's going to be Zapri on the Tracer, Spirit on the Junkrat, of course. We've got the Orisa Hog combo. So look for those halts and hooks coming out from them.
The key part here to the Grizzlies is that they want Zapri to be the disruptor in the back, right? Where the Grizzlies are going to be pretty much perched up going, okay, you guys can roll into us, but as you roll into us, be prepared for Zapri to be coming around the back. It also, though, means that a win condition for Toronto here is that if they can put Dalton on anti-Zapri duty, support him with Shu, maybe hit him with an orb or two in the process and kill Zapri early, it's going to be hard for the Grizzlies to fight this back. So Zapri and how he positions himself here is going to be incredibly key to this Grizzlies defense.
Yep, the Tracers are going to be the key components here, I would say. I would completely agree with you there, ZP. We'll see if Dalton is going to try and play that back line, try to go onto the point first and draw the members of Grizzlies off the high ground. We'll see. Right now, Grizzlies taking an awkward angle. We'll see if Spirit transitions over to behind that Orisa shield, which is where Junkrat does like to play now. It's just complete dive coming out from the Toronto squad. And so they're going to try and dislodge the Grizzlies from the high ground.
And Toronto doesn't have a whole lot of chill in these attacks, normally speaking. You're going to see them take their moment, have Guardian dive on in with Axiom, and that's going to be it. Meanwhile, you see Zapri on the flank. He was waiting coming from the outside, gets a little bit of pressure on him, but he's supported by the orb right now. Not the easiest of targets. You see Toronto coming in on the right end. Meanwhile, Zapri's coming in off the flank, but he's getting pushed back all the while. So Toronto is well aware of this Tracer threat. They're taking it more slowly than expected, and now they're pushing the way onto the point.
Yeah, they have forced Grizzlies onto the low ground here. This is where things could get messy. Oh, Dahoon is the first one to get jumped on. It's a 2-for-2 exchange, but Guardian is the one bringing it in. 2 kills going over for him. So Grizzlies, they've only got Graceful and Zapri left on the point.
You can't have your Junkrat get killed that early in that situation. Spirit was not able to get enough done. He wasn't able to identify the clump of Toronto players there, and as a result, he falls early. He's had enough of the rat already. He's going to Soldier, and he's just saying, okay, I am prepared for point B. Point A is over.
Wholesale changes coming out from the Grizzlies. Dahoon going over to, of course, the Ana here. Long sight lines, and of course, that biotic nade is huge, trying to shut down the offense. Pag and Graceful also swap off onto the Winston D.Va combo. It's only Guardian right now with his ultimate. Shu will have a Transcendence for this fight.
And this is Toronto's window of opportunity, right? You have momentum going in. You have the Transcendence you can use early. Shu's probably going to be very gratuitous in using this here. Not going to waste too much time. But you got to be careful. You don't want Dalton to get picked off. Guardian under pressure. The Transcendence comes out, but Guardian still very much safe. Gets him just in time. Toronto looking for their opportunity. Don't get as much early on, but they do get to hunt. It's a slow burn for Toronto right now, but they lose Dalton. Still, the rest of the team goes, we can manage without him. They have 1 tick, about to get 2, and the Grizzlies are in disarray.
Axiom somehow survives there. There's the blade now out from Nero, and no one is able to make it onto the point. The Grizzlies just not able to hold on to point B, especially after losing to Hunsu so early on in that fight. And so that's going to be Toronto now with 6 minutes and 2 seconds in their time bank. Grizzlies back on the offense.
Back we go again. And now for the Grizzlies, the question is, do they open up with 4 tanks once more? I think it did work out for them in the end, but the problem is that if your first attack fails, it's likely your second is going to fail as well because of all the ultimates you feed the other side. So this is a gamble they're taking here, where it's either going to give them a quick time boost that gives them a realistic chance of capturing point B again, Or if they lose that first fight, they could just end up gummed up on point A the entire time. A lot here is going to depend on Blam as well, because you think back to the first fight, the Grizzlies weren't able to use that early fight coalescence where you think about how these ultimates build. Blam should be the first ultimate on the field, even before a tire, if you're healing up poke to the tanks properly. And that didn't happen that last time.
Yeah, I would say everyone on the Grizzly squad did struggle trying to get their first ultimates up, particularly Spirit. It took him about 3 minutes to get that Graviton Surge, but when he did, it was effective for them. So now they're only left with 3 minutes and 23 seconds. Try and cap both points, maybe look at that point A and get the extra 30 seconds, but they're going to go with it. They're going to stick with it. They have to deal with Dalton on this Widowmaker, which was a threat that went unabated for the most part on their first offense.
Well, it went unabated, and part of it is that I'm not sure you have to chase him down, but at the very least you have to stand in areas where he's not going to get free damage on you. The Grizzlies, main focus here, get over here uncontested. They do that pretty easily. Now they immediately go onto the point, and oh, the headshot onto Zarya. Spirit's down! He wasn't able to take cover. A gigantic pickoff coming in from Dalton and Toronto. No chill in their defense here. They're going all the way in. Nero splashing about like he's a fish right now. He's gonna have a tire up for the next fight.
Yeah, that's the problem when you're trying to run this quad tank up against the composition that Toronto Esports are running right now. Nero on that Junkrat, he's able to just shell out the damage. It forces them to play much more closer than they want to, and that allows Dalton to just go out into the courtyard there. Just no problem whatsoever, no pressure on him. Last time on the offense, we saw Zapri going over to the Widowmaker to keep Dalton in check, and that did allow them to try and get onto the point. But this is looking like it's going to be another one of those pushes where Spirit is going to have difficulty just building up his ultimate. And Dalton already starts it off once again. Zapri's down. And 2 minutes left.
And let me tell you tomorrow's newspaper here. It's going to be Grizzly Bear run over by tire. Because Toronto, they can just wait. Sure, the Grizzlies get to reset here again, but the tire from Nero is going to be in play in just a moment.
Yep, Nero does have it, and last time the only way they were able to clear it was with Zapri on the Widowmaker. This time he swapped off onto the Tracer. So hopefully that's going to be the extra firepower that they need right now, but Nero just sends out the second concussion mine, clearing to Hun there. That's going to put a stop to this push already.
Already the Grizzlies in a tough spot because now you can stagger them. You have 5 people stuck alone, they don't have support, and Nero just has to decide, do I go for the tire now? And he does, he wants to go for it. Going for the stagger before they reset, in or out the side, gets 2. The Grizzlies have been run over by Toronto Esports here with 1:23 left to go.
And that was just beautifully set up. Of course, Dalton did have the infrasight up, so he knew exactly where they were going. They were inside the stairwell, and there's nowhere for you to escape at all. But Nero did use that. So that means Grizzlies, they have a moment, they have an opportunity to get into this next fight. They've got both support ultimates, but they need to force Toronto onto the low ground so that Pag can try and get this Earth Shatter off.
The problem is their support ultimates aren't as useful. It's Transcendence and Valkyrie versus Coalescence, and that's good. And Pog's already out of the fight. Zapri gets bopped by Shu, and the Grizzlies, I guess if there's a silver lining there, they didn't invest anything, but they're still working with tools that are nowhere near as good.
Hey, Spirit did pick off Cruz, and so someone will have to go and taxi him back, but they're not completely pressured right now. There's 30 seconds left. Grizzlies need to wait for a full regroup here. Dalton knows exactly where the Tracer is. She did step into that Widow mine. Oh, peeking. You gotta be careful.
Oh!
Dalton!
He challenged Dalton. Dalton goes, all right, takes him down with an easy headshot, and Cruz, he's gonna get back into the fray. Pog, the destiny is in his hammer here, realistically speaking, and Spirit's grab, where you need a good Earth Shatter, but can you avoid the tire? The tire, parkour, waits out the sound barrier at the beginning and runs Spirit over. There will be no grab. Pag dropped the Earth Shatter, but doesn't matter. The bomb on the point. Graceful, nothing graceful about it there, just pure destruction. And the Grizzlies still trying to keep things alive. The self-destruct that helps them in this situation, but will be enough. Cruz is able to res some of the fallen. It's a good turnabout as Zapri moves on the other end. Zapri gets falling to Shu. Shu continues to check him, and Toronto not out of this defense yet.
Not out of this quite yet, but Graceful is able to get the DMAC now. They're going to try and change focus on to the Mercy, but they need to bring her down. One tick very nearly secured now for the Grizzlies, but they got the DMAC onto Graceful. They have the respawns coming on in. There it is. Spirit's back with the Graviton Surge. They have the follow-up. They've got the hammer. It's Pag swinging on them.
Overtime still in progress. And remember, if they get this, they'll get an extra 30 seconds to go to point B, and they get the cleanup needed. My goodness, Graceful was the one breaking things open there, giving the Grizzlies one final attempt at point B.
His is the mech that will pierce point A. Now we're moving on to point B here. We're gonna have the sound barrier for Dahoon. They might not even focus down Axiom. He's gotta be careful. Tire comes out now, 10 seconds left. There's the sound barrier, but Graceful's able to snipe that Tire.
Graceful from the side. Nero didn't realize Devo was there, so they're not gonna be able to rely on the Tire. Zapri though falls, he was looking for the high ground bench. Nero got rid of him. Pag drops the hammer once more. Both tanks in the crossfire. Guardian gonna get pinned, but has support all the while. The Coalescence coming in from the back, and Zapri is at an emergency. Sombra it is. We'll see if he even gets back to the fight.
Oh no.
Graceful moving to the side, isolate Shu. He gets res and goes, why have you left me to die? And yet, the rest of the team for Toronto still contesting on the point. They have not given up a tick yet, and the respawn advantage starting to prove to be too much.
Too much indeed. Axiom now with that Primal Rage, just stomping on everybody. So Grizzlies once again struggled on point A, tried to snowball onto point B, and it looked good, but the Valkyrie coming out was just too much healing. They could not get rid of the tanks, and they were just an unstoppable force there. So they'll only be able to get point A now. Toronto, they've got 6 minutes and 2 seconds to work with. Try and get a tick onto point B, so ostensibly 6 minutes and 32 seconds.
It's a lot of time. Period. Realistically speaking, this is still a very tough situation for the Grizzlies. Having a 6-minute hold on first when normally you have to hold it only for 4 would be almost historic. That's probably not going to happen. So the Grizzlies essentially have to fully disrupt and discombobulate Toronto when they go on their attack, because remember, it's not just a full attack that's necessary for Toronto on point B, it's one tick.
Yeah. And even then, the Grizzlies just need an absolute full hold here on point A, because if it's a draw, Toronto walk away with the series win.
Yes.
So, Grizzlies, oh boy, I do not envy being in this position so far now. They are going to go ahead and run that Orisa Hog with Zapri on the Widowmaker and Spirits. This time on the Tracers started off.
So, a 6-minute hold on first. It would require a collapse from Toronto, especially given how effective their first attack was. But can the Grizzlies change the tail of the tape? We're about to find out.
High ground hold once again coming out from the Grizzlies. Last time we saw Toronto was able to just apply pressure, force them onto the ground, but Zapri starting it off, taking out Axiom. That's a huge pickoff. That's going to slow them down, but they need to do this over and over again.
It's a big pickoff, but the task in front of the Grizzlies is so much larger that's like, oh, that's cute. You've taken away 30 seconds with a pickoff. Guess what? We still have 5.5 minutes. Congratulations. Zapri, still looking for that. The rest of Toronto moving around this right side. Again, just going, do we go bottom, do we go top? And they fake him out. They go back top. Narrow set up beautifully by his tanks. Picks off 2. And Toronto Esports, they're going to be taking this first point with ease. That will mean that they will take the series no matter what, because the worst case scenario is a draw. But hey, they would like to add another math win to the board.
Yeah, Toronto Esports, I mean, they're currently sitting on 2-1. With this puts them at 3-1. But every single map victory counts. You want the highest seed possible moving into the playoffs now. Now Toronto, we'll see how many maps they can get on the board. 5 minutes and 20 seconds. That's what they've got to work with to try and take one tick here on point B.
It's a lot of time, and the Grizzlies do not exactly have a lot of options. Toronto, they don't want to go in here just yet, because you take a look at the ultimate situation. They're waiting for 2 things. Oh, Shoot Gun Spirit! The DPS from Zenyatta striking again. Blam down, Spirit down, Dragon Blade in. Narrow gonna be slicing Pag to ribbons, going for the tanks right now on this blade, and it works out. Toronto striking deeply into the Grizzlies territory. They get the tick they're looking for, and it's a clean 3-0.
So, what happened with the Grizzlies? Like, it was crazy, because, like, again, starting out strong, losing it, and then having that bizarre comeback, kind of, I guess you would call it round 2 on point B. They managed to kind of get their 30 seconds, but there's not much they could do with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really convinced with the Grizzlies' quad tank setup there. I mean, it makes sense in how it's working, but when teams do quad tank well, the way it works out is that you absorb a bit of damage, your Moira heals it up, and then you get an early coalescence that makes it really difficult to stand against them. And we never saw that early coalescence come out from Blam, and it might not have necessarily been his fault. I mean, they were getting outpositioned on all ends there, but they didn't have the victory condition that a quad tank setup normally does on point E or point A, and it cost them all sorts of time.
Yeah, one of the things is when you're trying to run that quad tank setup, you rely very heavily upon your Lucio speed boost to try and get you to the points. But the thing is that, well, there's a halt on the opposite end with that Theresa, and you have to remember that the halt also comes with a slowdown. And so once it does connect onto members, well, you have the follow-up damage you have to worry about, and also just being stood still there in the middle of the courtyard. And that's where they were able to get the pickoffs on the Toronto side. So the quad tank, it just gets shut down by a halt. That's all it is.
Dalton also had a ridiculous game, even still. And, I mean, part of it was like, okay, you're landing shots on the tanks. Good. The other part, though, also, why are you positioned in such a way that you're giving the Widow this room? You either go for the Widow or you abuse terrain to make the Widow go in a rough position. You don't just sit there in the window and go, yes, Dalton, please shoot us. May I have another?
Yeah, that's why a lot of teams find, of course, that Theresa shield a bit more favorable because of the geography of point A here. You have that huge opening that Dalton was able to fire in. Reinhardt, well, really only covers that one angle in one direction. So Dalton's just able to lay in all of these shots.
Yeah, and again, I'm fine if you're going to ignore the Widow to an extent here, but at least put yourself in a situation where she can't just shoot you for free. I mean, it's one or the other, right? You kill the Widow or you don't let her shoot her. You don't choose the hidden third door of, yes, Widow, shoot me.
Well, it looked like Junkrat was on, you know, Nero, I guess I should say, was really the one who was dictating where they were grouping.
Yeah.
Like, well, this is Nero's Genji, but just in general, he seemed to really be almost choreographing where the Grizzlies ended up.
For as much as the Junkers hate Omnix, the synergy between Theresa and Junkrat and Roadhog is just absolutely nuts. And so they were just set up for perfect just execution. Every time a halt came out, you know, you had to worry about the Junkrat mines and just the damage being laid out. It was just way too much for them to deal with.
Well, the other thing, too, is that it's less on the first push, but certainly for every push thereafter, is that if you lose the first push as quad tank, the power of the composition is just worse, period, because now someone's like, oh, yeah, you're going to get tired every other fight because he's building up so much ult charge. And it just, the quad tank sub just feels to get weaker and weaker as it goes on.
Alrighty, well, here we are, map selection. We are taking it to Junkertown. And we've already seen Widowmaker come out kind of on both sides. So where do you guys see, how do you guys see this playing out as far as what we've seen already? Specifically, like with the Grizzlies, we've seen quite a bit of variation. They seem to, they're not kind of marrying to one hero over another hero like we saw in the first kind of week and a half of their play. But with this, the versatility that they have is going to be one of their strengths.
Sure, although I do think on first point, teams really have not been too much in the realm of experimenting overall, is that mostly speaking, you will see the Widow, Hanzo double sniper rollout. So for Grizzlies, that of course that means it's going to be Zapri on the Widow, and it's going to be Spirit on the Hanzo, and of course on the flip side, you're going to see Dalton on Widow as well. So you're going to be seeing these matchups here, and the way it's been going, I mean, you still have to give the edge to Toronto. Dalton has just been outplaying people today over and over again, and I don't know if that's going to change when you get to Widowmaker v Widowmaker.
Cool. Well, let's go ahead and get into game. We're going to see now. Toronto definitely has secured this series, but hopefully Grizzlies can at least get a map win out of this. Taking it to Junkertown.
Grizzlies, I don't believe you.
As much as I want to believe this, yeah.
No.
I just, come on. Do it for us. Do it for the lulz at this point now. Grizzlies, they are now 1-3. I mean, with how a lot of the matches did go last week, there's still a possibility for them to avoid relegation, but it's going to have to start here. They need to get at least one map on the board just to keep themselves competitive.
You see, the Grizzlies is like, oh, yeah, they're going to believe this. Like, no, we're never going to believe that. Baby, don't let your memes be dreams, but in this case, they were just dreams. Spirits comes out with the Hanzo. Zapri on the Widow, so pretty much as expected, but they have to be worried about Dalton, who's going to be more well protected in the back and looking counterside. But look at this approach from Zapri now, coming in off the right. He could catch the other Widow off guard. He has a perfect opportunity and connects.
Oh.
Gets two! What an opening from Zapri! And now the goal, deny the resurrection. Don't let the Hun get back.
Yeah, it's a 6v3 now, all in favor of the Grizzlies. Zapri somehow surviving with 1 HP. It's all Grizzlies there. That was a great lurk coming out from Zappri. And the thing is, Dalton should have expected it. A lot of our Widows, offensive Widows, have been taking this approach. Oh, he answers back.
Salty revenge. And the thing about that is that Dalton didn't even give himself a chance to win that cleanly. He was looking the other direction as he got shot in the head. So that is a pure positional outplay. Zappri will get brought back up. Toronto decides, we're going to try and make this happen. They rush back out. Dalton gets the hunt, and Dalton now desperately trying to make up for lost time, but you see the Dragon Strike coming from Spirit. Oh, shoe from the side! And Toronto, it hasn't been clean. They're still very much under pressure. They're probably not going to be able to hold this, but man, are they making a strong last stand here. And the goal, of course, make people use ultimates, and they're going to burn the self-destruct coming out here from Pog. Get too much, it's a little bit too high, and in fact, Toronto respawns come in. The Grizzlies have given up a golden chance here. My word, but great play for Toronto to make it happen.
Yeah, that was a great hold. I mean, it was just Shu really fragging out there. Cruz comes in with a really clutch resurrect that helped them, but also just being alive on the point and making sure that Axiom didn't go down to Pog was a huge difference maker there. And so somehow Toronto do hold on. Grizzlies, 2 minutes off the clock now, 2 minutes and 3 seconds to just try and push it a few more meters to secure the first point.
And that's to be frustrating if you're Zappri, given how that began. You get the 2 early pickups that should have been a 1-point A. You let a team back into it. You just can't make these mistakes in Overwatch as a team. Because now Toronto, look, they've gotten a full chance to reset. They have a Transcendence up here, and Dalton, room to work with here in the back. Guardian gets teambacked in. Toronto just, again, the Grizzlies in a rough spot. And Spirit on the attack, though, finds Shu, and this might be the opening you're looking for, but with the res coming in, Toronto's still not bending back.
Yeah, there's the self-destruct to get rid of the supercharge. They got their own now on the field.
Oh!
Comes in. I thought it was on the Widowmaker, but it got onto Spirit somehow. And so Nero now, with the double kill, will force back the Grizzlies once again.
When you can't afford a real Graviton and go with your budget option to set up your Tracer, nice coordination coming in there. Could have been even bigger as Guardian continues to go to town. The Grizzlies in rough spot. 1 minute away from getting full held here on Junkertown.
Yep. 1 minute, 60 seconds remaining now. Blam has swapped off. He's going over to the Zenyatta. They want a little bit more follow through. The damage to make it stick for Zappri. The damage boosted Widow. He is trying to take the challenge, but Dalton now falling far back onto the high ground. Early back, Dalton already starts it off. Spirit's gone.
Spirit's out of it. Zappri is nowhere close
to
getting Cruz relives his dreams as a DPS player before he was put on support once more. Still going for it's gonna be a triple kill. It is Cruz. Oh my word! My only request of production is that if play of the game is Cruz here, please let us see it. Do not just throw it back.
No, but it's gonna be like Ultimate April Fools, right? Where Cruz does get the play of the game, but it's gonna be him rezzing someone.
Oh no! No.
All right, 10 seconds remaining.
Cruz
again takes Spirit out. And oh, Zappri will answer back, but Dalton is there to the resurrection. Cruz, play of the game once more. Overtime ticking away, and it's just a huge man advantage. It's a mountain that the Grizzlies cannot overcome at this point. Guardian with the double kill, both supports gone now. And so Toronto Esports, they want this 4th map on the board.
Toronto, so close to this full hold. Overtime in progress, but how much can the Grizzlies keep in progress? Spirit just getting bopped every single time. And Zappri, despite the beginning, really just fell flat on Widow towards the very end. Dalton coming back in style, and what can you say when a Mercy towards the end kills 3 people?
Quad kill.
And then some, like, oh my word.
The Valk will not be sated. The Angel shall not be sated, right?
Yeah, and look, we all know Cruz as a person. If you've listened to any of his interviews, there's no way he was not just screaming profanities, going just in celebratory profanities. Yeah. Now he's just going probably just like, can I be DPS now? Yeah, someone else go Mercy. It's fine.
I mean, they are on offense, right? They can run the triple DPS, but I think Cruz is.
Oh, let's go!
Let's go!
Let's go!
Cruz, I remember he said that after World Cup that he wanted to focus more on going DPS.
Yes!
This is not a troll pick. He does like his Genji.
It actually might be a troll, but you know what? As far as I know, stream delay-wise, they still haven't heard the active part, so he hasn't even heard our praise for his DPS play. Cruz, I can't believe I've read your mind to this extent. I've spent far too much time with you, my friend, and I hope to do so again. My word, please let this be true.
I'm not completely against it. You know, teams do run that solo support. It's just difficult for Shu, if he is going to be the solo support, to try and keep everyone topped off. But really all they need is a few pickoffs from Dalton, a few pickoffs from Guardian, or even Cruz just to build up a blade and to massacre the team. And so now Grizzlies, they need the hold of a lifetime here just to try and get one map in this series.
Cruz, I know it makes no sense, but force Dalton to mercy. Force him. Be the widow of your dreams. Don't be guilted into going support the end here. I believe in you. I believe in you and your magical haircut. Stay on the Genji.
There you go, just walk past the border.
No!
Why do you do this to us?
How dare you!
All right,
Friendship
so
broken.
it's not even going to be solo support. Shu is going to be on Zenyatta, but I mean, we have to argue at this point. Shu is a DPS on this Zen so far. Dalton doesn't have the damage boost. There it is. Cruz will give it on over to him. Payload making free headway. Grizzlies are just going to give him all this free ground.
And don't forget, all Dalton needs to do here is get... Oh, almost got it set up by the halt. That was a nice halt from
Guardian
Axiom.
was there, though.
He's going on the backside. Yeah, Guardian fish him off. Nero gets Zapri. Oh. Are they going to stop the Mercy? The Mercy was going back for the res, and...
It's Mercy hunting season, and he goes down.
He paid for his life for that. Toronto just abusing the Grizzlies right now. My word, there's limits to hunting Grizzlies in a park. As the Toronto Esports team just looking unchained. An easy ride right now to this yellow box victory.
Take a look, Nero does not care at all. He's gonna hold this window now. He had the scatter, so you have to worry about that threat. Graceful swapped off onto Soldier 76, so they're minus a take now. Zapri's also gone on to the Doomfist. This is just we're seeing last-ditch effort coming out from a Guardian once again, just chewing through the members of the Grizzlies now. Nero still on this Hanzo, but with that, it's gonna be Toronto to walk away 4-0 up against Grizzlies.
We don't even know who got play of the game. It might have been Cruz.
Well, it looked like Toronto was toying with the Grizzlies in the first couple maps and then just kind of pulled out all the stops, especially on Junkertown. They didn't even give them a chance to breathe.
No, not really. And overall, we did see a clear difference, right? Where even when Zapri was able to open things up with very nice pickoffs, they fought back. And you can't let a team come back in Overwatch. It will bite you, whether it be contextually in a overall series. Hey, reverse sweeps happen. Ask New York. And now you have a situation where it's like, oh, you let a team back in when you should have gotten into point B. Well, it's not great. You are in all sorts of trouble. And look, Zapri starts out this should have been a point A take, and the Grizzlies weren't able to convert.
Yeah, he gets Dalton and Shu here. And then from there, they're able to push it forward. Now, one of the things I think might have been a little bit of an error was Spirit with that Dragon Strike. When they were just meters away, instead of using it to try and zone the entranceway that the enemy team would have taken, that Toronto would have taken, instead he throws it onto the point, gets nothing really from it, allows Shu to come in, and he's standing right there toe-to-toe with Shu. He doesn't even realize. And Shu comes in. He's able to get back onto the point, get 2 frags, and allows them to stabilize from there. So that might have been one of the bigger blunders coming out.
Well, and also I think, again, if you're a student of Overwatch and you look at what makes a difference, oftentimes we praise tank players, but one of the key differences is the idea that your Zenyatta can win you fights outright at times where you wouldn't expect. It's certainly why the NYXL and Overwatch League, where you look at a player like Jonak, who's able to do that with regularity, you were getting that level of contribution to a degree from Shu at points. Yeah. And that was huge.
When we were on Horizon Point B, the secondary push, we saw Nero, he was on Genji. He was just poking away at Soldier 76 on the opposite end. He was just trying to build up his ultimate, and he landed a few shurikens, but Shu was right there to follow up with some more orbs and took him out. And so, yeah, Shu has been a major contributor to this team.
Yeah, and here we have, we talked a lot about Dalton, but Nero was putting in the work on Hanzo the whole time.
And it's just a double sniper threat, right? Where if you're worried about Dalton, as you rightly should, you're not worried about the Hanzo in your back teaching geometries. So, pick your flavor of dying in that case towards the end. I was like, I will take an arrow to the back, sir. Thank you.
Well, some people took an arrow to the back. Some people took a headshot straight from Dalton, who is our Old Spice player of the match. Let's go ahead and check out some of this awesome replay.
And yeah, he's been fantastic all series long. We saw it starting off on Ilios. He was there really following up on a lot of Nero's play from the Pharah, starting off with that Tracer, and he was just fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, no matter if he was on the Widowmaker, if he was on the Tracer, he was great. Again, this sequence here, I do feel like it's more in the Grizzlies for, oh, we're just not going to put ourselves in a position where we can hide from the Widow, nor are we going to kill the Widow. Yeah, of course he's going to kill you. You're literally letting him do whatever he wants. It is just aim training for Dalton at that point.
Yeah, which he doesn't seem to need too much of, given the performance that we saw today. Now, we kind of talk about this is starting to kind of come to the end of our regular season. This is our 4th week. We've got one more week left after this. And we had mentioned at the top of the show that having not just a victory, but kind of an oppressive victory that Toronto had here in this final series of, the final 4 maps that we had today with them against the Grizzlies, it looks like Toronto has a pretty solid chance at playoffs.
Yeah, Toronto, I think there might be like one crazy scenario where they don't get in, but they're like 95, probably like closer to 98% in here if it is not already 100%. So Toronto is in a great spot, not just again the playoffs, but going in at the very top of the playoffs. Meanwhile, the Grizzlies, I do believe, still have outs to get in, but it puts all the pressure on their next week's game, and they also might need help by other teams losing. So the Grizzlies may no longer be in control of their own destiny.
Yeah, Toronto's in a great spot right now. That's 3 series wins for them so far. Also now with these 4 maps, that's going to put them at a total of 13. And so they are already leading. I believe beforehand, the 2nd and 3rd place, they were at 7 at the beginning of the series. They were at 9 for Toronto, so now they're just extending that lead. So every team behind them needs a 4-0 victory to try and stay competitive here in the seeding.
All right, well, we are going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we will be seeing Mayhem go up against XL2 to see whether or not any of them can secure a 4-0. That looks like it's going to be a tough match to do something like that, but if anything,